Brooks is about to pull something out of his hat. I can see it coming.
He pulled a chip out of his ass.
All right, boys, welcome back. Episode 16, Heart of the Order. Guys, it's an exciting episode tonight. We're going to talk about the MLB Draft. But first, before we get into the MLB Draft, Dre, I'm not going to ask you how you're doing. Brooksy, I'm not going to ask you how you're doing. Malek, Gregory Malek, one of the original members of Heart of the Order, is back. The draft expert himself. Raise it up. He's back. He's back with us tonight. We're talking about the draft. We got to bring the draft expert into the fold. Malek, how are you doing tonight, man? Most of our fans probably only get to see you on Two Beers Deep, a couple other episodes. This is your first video appearance on Heart of the Order.
Godfather.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. First off, Mac, thank you for bringing me on for this fun episode. This is something that I'm passionate about, as you guys know, so it's going to be fun to talk about this. Brooksy, it's nice to see you on here, and I got to give you a ton of credit, my friend. You are the glue that has basically forced Dre to actually come on time to things now and actually stay committed to something. And I appreciate that whatsoever, because back before this, Mac and I couldn't get him to do it, so clearly you are the one that's been able to bring it together. So, bravo.
I'm a disciplinarian. I demand
can tell.
Malek,
the check-in way.
There was an episode a few weeks ago where Dre said he was going to be ready by like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we ended up recording like 2 or 3 hours later.
Oh, the good old days.
In my defense, I have all the time in the world now, clearly, because of COVID.
Clearly,
So if something happens, you know it's real. Like, not saying everything I had before wasn't real, but I've been, no softball getting into the way or anything like that. So
is this the real life? Is it just fantasy?
No.
Are we? Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody, for anyone who don't know.
I would hope people know.
I would hope so too, but you never know with these people, Malek. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
I know. So bases are loaded, and I'm juiced up.
Bases are loaded right now. We got 4 here. We got the whole beginning of the lineup right now.
They walked us all and put Malek in the batter's box.
He is the home run derby champ. He is the home run
champ. The trophy is in my car still, so yes, I do have that.
Why isn't it on your shelf in your new house?
Because I'm still moving shit in, man. It's gonna take a while. That's gonna probably be in my God, I'm trying to think. Probably my office, along with a couple other knickknacks that I've received over the years. So we shall see how that goes.
Yeah, congrats on the house. Where is it, if you're allowed to say it on the air?
Yeah, I can say the area. It's I'm in Munhall, PA.
Uh-huh.
So for people who aren't really familiar with the area necessarily, it is along the Mon Valley, basically. If you know where Homestead is, it's basically right up the hill. I got a really great deal on a property out there for well under the price range that I was looking for. Not a lot that I have to do to the place. We've mostly been painting lately. I haven't officially moved in yet, so that's kind of the big knock right there. I was talking to Mac about this earlier. Furnishing a house is expensive.
Very.
Would have never thought that from the get-go. They tell you, save up all your money to be able to actually buy a house and put a down payment on it. But nowhere do they tell you, yeah, you're going to have to spend probably a lot of money on actually getting a couch and a TV and a dining room and a bed, all this
applications and stuff, like the fucking appliances and stuff like that, like washer, dryer, fridge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully you move in and that shit's already there. I will say this, Malek. You see this bad boy right here?
I do see that bad boy right there.
Got it in Carnegie, place called American Freight. Shameless plug.
Ooh, okay.
Go ahead and check it out. We got a nice deal on that. It's a sectional, so it wraps. It goes this way and wraps around all the way down this back wall over here. So it was pretty dope.
I like that. I like that. I was looking at like Value City a couple of times, and I found a dining room table I want to get. I'm probably gonna get that in a couple of weeks. But like trying to pick like a fucking couch and stuff, like I don't know what it is. But, like it is. It's very tough.
And like couch is tough.
And I got to figure out like how it will go with like the room and stuff. And then I also want to figure out, okay, do I want a love seat? Do I want like a chair just for me and stuff like that? So there's a lot of variables that go into it. And it's tough.
It really does.
And what tone do you want to set?
Yeah.
I want to set a tone that my living room is a welcoming environment for anyone who wants to come.
So have 6 love seats. Don't need one couch. Just get multiple love seats.
Crazy enough, my living room is actually big enough for six love seats. But the
get
problem
7.
is that I need it.
If
But I need it.
your house, you have 6
Problem.
seats. I'm turning around and walking out the door.
I would feel
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem, though. I have to like angle it so like everyone can at least see the TV, and that's where the big issue comes in because the TV is going to be placed in a corner next to where my bay window is. So you got to try to like angle it properly, I guess.
Makes sense. I will say this: when I was shopping for that bad boy, I went to Value City, I went to Bob's Discount Furniture, I'm pretty sure I even went to Levin before. I went all 3 places. There were some things I liked, but the prices just weren't there. That couch, as soon as we saw it, we bought it when we saw the price tag. It's a sectional wrap. Takes up a whole space, whole corner of the room. They have different styles as well. So like if they don't have that specific, if they don't have the style you like, they can essentially get it customized for you and then deliver it. We got our couch in June to move into this place in August back in 2018. So I'll just throw that out there right now. American Freight and Carnegie.
Put Dre's stamp on it.
All right.
Put my stamp of approval on it.
I haven't been to Carnegie in a hot minute, so that'll be kind of nice to actually go out there, I guess. So thank you for the plug, Dre. I appreciate
Of course.
The shameless. We haven't done a shameless plug segment since we restarted. I just realized that.
Since 2.0
We've done a
came out.
shameless
So.
plug segment, Brooksy, where you just plug.
Yeah, Dre dropping the big 3 of the Pittsburgh furniture establishments. It's like dropping the big 3 of the Oakland rotation. I like that.
What can I say? That is the original big. I won't say the original. I'll say that's the modern day big 3. The original to me is Smoltz, Glavin, and Maddox.
I like that. All right.
Yeah,
That's my original big.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. The Atlanta big 3, I'll go with over the Oakland one.
What you got? Zito, Mulder, and
Tim
Hudson.
Tim
Soul
Hudson.
Patch.
Tim Hudson. Okay, Tim Hudson.
Barry Zito with that damn curveball. My God.
That was like that.
And that-
Literally made me want to pitch when I was a little kid. Like I want to go out and throw a curveball like that. It's like,
You know what? You know what pisses me off about that big 3? They made a whole movie about that team and never once mentioned how good Zito, Hudson, and Mulder were that year.
Yeah.
Of Moneyball.
You
I'm talking
see
about
like
Moneyball.
the back of Miguel Tejada's jersey in one part. You see Eric Chavez, and you're like, these guys are really good players, but in the movie they're just
They're not even mentioned.
That
It's
wasn't-
all about Scott Hatterberg.
that wasn't the focus of the movie.
It's crazy.
Shout out to Chris Pratt, though. He played a great Scott Hatterberg. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah. Chris Pratt was an awesome Hatterberg.
Mhm.
He really was.
All right, guys. Hodo Interior Design Edition is ended.
Mac putting his foot down.
So now, for the reason we're here, what do you got going over there, Brooksy? What are you doing here, man?
He's taking notes.
You look like you're ready to like stab something with your pen.
an EpiPen.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So we're here. Draft just concluded last night with the 5th round, the 5 rounds. It was cut short this year because of the coronavirus pandemic. Malek, you're here for a reason, so we're going to start off with you. And we've kind of talked about this a little bit in the past episodes, but 5 rounds. The draft is normally, 30-something?
40.
40.
40 rounds. How much is this year going to affect, like, the minor league system and all beyond with only 5 rounds this year?
It's going to affect it tremendously because, first off, we're also looking at the perspective that a lot of clubs have already released a ton of minor league talent as well. The Pirates recently just cut 39 players from their minor league system altogether. And yes, I mean, they're a mix of like the Venezuelan and Dominican players, but they were also guys that were in their short season and low Class A team. And usually what happens with the 40-round draft is that's usually how they fill out their rosters for the short season school and also probably getting some guys in extended spring training just to get extra looks at with it. So this is going to be a huge impact whatsoever because this 40 rounds, usually in like the middle rounds, I'd say 20 to 30, that's usually where you get guys to essentially just fill out your roster and say that there's maybe one tool of theirs that you just want to get a good look at and try to get as many players into organization to kind of build up that talent. Not having it this year, you're essentially putting a lot of pressure on the number of players that you drafted. So, for instance, I mean, the Yankees, they only drafted 3 players in this draft. There's going to be a ton of pressure on those 3 to even produce. And if they don't, that entire draft class is just gone. If you look at teams like the Giants, they had 7 draft picks, and we'll get to that later, and I don't like their draft class at all. But the Giants were able to kind of spread out their essential value right there altogether. But again, they kind of are able to look at it and say, if one guy hits, then it's a success right there. And that's even the case with a 40-round draft too. If one guy in a 40-round draft makes it to the majors, that's a success. That is absolutely considered a success for his teams. Being it with only 5, the margin for error is razor thin at this point. And teams are essentially now going to be on a lot of pressure to at least get one guy from their draft classes to be able to hit. And it's going to be a really long time before we see that happening.
It's crazy to think that, like what you just said, that the fact that even with a 40-man draft class, if one of those players makes the majors, like that draft is success. That's wild to think about.
It is.
Absolutely wild to think about. You make what, like probably 10, 15, 20 picks in 40 rounds? Probably more than that, actually, now that I think about it. And one of those guys hits, and it's success. That's crazy.
Right. Because think about it, like that's a long development path that guy has to take before they can even be considered major league ready. I mean, I would argue one of the better draft classes that Neil Huntington had when he was the Pirates GM was 2013, when he had Austin Meadows, Chad Kuhl, and Adam Frazier all make it to the majors. Yeah. Like, that's impressive, having 3 guys make it to the majors in one draft class. And I'm probably missing someone too, because I think Max Moroff was in that class as well. So that's kind of really saying how important it is to get as many talent to the majors as possible from that. But getting 3 out of 40 is considered a big success. So the fact that it was just basically kind of gutted this year is an absolute shame. And it's really going to affect how the minor leagues look in a couple of years. And especially next year too, because next year's draft essentially got cut to 20 rounds as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be wild. This coronavirus, has a major impact on baseball as it is already. I mean, they're not playing. It doesn't seem like they're anywhere close to returning to play, and the draft is going to be affected for the next couple of years. It's just It's going to be wild to see where the sport is.
And then also, just to point this out too, the next 3 years of college baseball are going to be insane.
Yeah,
absolutely insane, because there are so many players from this class that were not drafted because of the fact that it was only 5 rounds. So you're going to have a lot of high schoolers that are now going to honor their commitments to go to college. So essentially, schools are now going to be in roster crunches at that point, because you got seniors that weren't able to play this year that are allowed to come back this year if they want to. And then you have incoming freshmen that are going to also be mixing from that point right there. So you're going to have a lot of teams with roster crunches, and you could possibly even see the JUCO ranks get flooded with all these guys that decide, okay, if we're not going to go to the program that we want to and be part of a roster crunch, we can go the junior college route and maybe get drafted again the following year. And then that's just going to put even more of a recycling spin on it, because you got juniors that are upcoming in next year's class, like Kumar Rocker, who's probably going to be the number 1 pick. And then you got the next round of high school players that are coming up too. So it's just going to be a revolving cycle moving forward to see how this is going to go from a player acquisition aspect when it comes to the draft.
I just want to add on to the point about the Pirates 2013 class. You said who? You said Meadows,
Cole, and
Meadows, Chad Kuhl, and Adam Frazier.
Okay. You missed, and still impressive nonetheless. You missed Jacoby Jones, who's now on the Tigers.
I forgot. He didn't make his major league debut until he got to the Tigers, so that's why.
And then if whoever out there wants to still talk about this trade, you're thinking of Reese McGuire, who also was taken ahead of Austin Meadows, but he doesn't matter to me. That trade doesn't matter to me. So.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, he's taken after him. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
You're right. I'm looking at it. He's taking after him. That's my bad.
And Reese McGuire got in the news a little bit ago too.
What?
Was that Reese McGuire? He got in trouble with the law?
Yeah, same guy.
Yeah, that was something really weird I saw too.
Yeah.
It was not. All I know is it was weird, but it was not good. It was like him
Pocket
masturbating.
pinball.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't it like he was like caught in like a parking lot or something, like masturbating in his car out in Arizona?
It was something like that. Yeah,
it was pocket
weird.
pinball.
No, this draft, I'm not gonna lie, I was way more into it than most other years because, like Malek said, you have 40 rounds, so like it's kind of hard to keep track of who's going to make it, who's not. You kind of just see who they're going to pick, and then follow that draft class for your team or respective teams based on whom they sign, because you're not going to sign everybody that you draft. We've said this multiple times, and this is why we kind of talk about this. Why we love this game, love this. It's unique. This draft is the Major League Baseball draft is the only draft arguably that you just take the best player available no matter what. I'm looking today as a Pirates fan. I'm looking today at Pirates Twitter and last night, and you had all the beat writers, specifically Jason Mackey. You had other guys, Twitter trolls just like, oh, they didn't take a catcher. Like, what the hell are they doing? Oh my God! Like, who cares? Honestly, who cares if they didn't take a catcher? Like, you can sign a catcher if it's that big of a deal, which they have proven that is the better route anyways because of Russell Martin. There's the example right there. Cervelli they traded for. So that's another one. Maybe they don't develop catchers that well. But number two, you got to take the best player available in this because of the fact that you legitimately need talent in order to win. Not everybody you draft is going to make it to the majors. And whether it's 40 rounds or 5 rounds, that point of it doesn't change. So, if you're a team out there that's like, I need to draft this player because I need it, you're going to lose that draft class every single time. You don't draft for need, you draft for talent. And, you look at some of these teams and, like Malek said, a team like the Giants, which, I also agree, they did not do well. They didn't follow that aspect, but they need a lot of things anyway. So we'll see how that happens. It's hard to judge a draft class now just because, again, 5 rounds, you don't know who's going to sign. It's a weird draft class because a lot of the college bats went ahead of the high schoolers, which I'm sure that's something we'll get into a little bit here as well. But all in all, just watching this draft, I was way more intrigued than I have been in the past. And I think it was the amount of rounds that there were.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to pay attention when you know there's only 5 rounds. When you're going through a regular draft of 40 rounds, I honestly, like Malek, when we talked about the draft last year, like I was talking to you and I was like, I don't know how you have the attention span to pay attention for 40 rounds. Like, it's such a long draft. There's so many players, there's so many teams, there's so many picks, there's so many aspects that you have to remember and things like that. And it's kind of really hard to pay attention unless you're just kind of, you like to just sit at work and just listen to it, right, Malek? You just
right.
put a headphone in and just listen. And so, like, in a way, like, I enjoyed the 5 round aspect this year, but I know it's in the end it's going to kind of be not detrimental to the sport, but it's not going to be good for the sport in the long run. So you need so many players throughout the system and things like that. Brooksy, you haven't been saying much over there. You've been a little quiet. What's your kind of opinion on all of these things? What did you think of the draft?
I think from my perspective and thank goodness that the other Greg is here with us today, because draft, like, my consumption of the draft is mainly just like maybe like even a few years after, when I see like the names coming up into like the Pirates like top 30 prospect list or those things. So like this year has been like unique for me because I think for a lot of times when it's 40 round draft, you'll be like, holy cow, how can I keep up with this? I'll just focus on who the Pirates pick in the first 5 rounds, do some research on them, look into that. But yeah, this has been a completely new like perspective where it's only 5 rounds, and I'm just more concerned of that long-term impact, like piggybacking off what Greg Malek was saying about how JUCO and college ball is just going to be juiced. Like, there's just going to be a long-term impact of this, and I'm just worried about like minor league baseball and farm systems as a whole. Like, I think that's post-COVID, it's just a little concerning for me of what that's going to turn into. But I'm maybe this episode I'll be a little bit more quiet and a little bit more listening. I'm just excited to hear what everybody else has to say about some prospects. Because for me, I don't take in prospects until they're really nearing the majors.
Mm-hmm. And
So double
I
A.
gotta crack the top 100. I get that.
Yeah, I don't have the attention span, I guess you could say. But for instance, I think looking at maybe for instance for the Pirates, I feel like Nick Gonzalez, he's automatically almost going to be plugged into the Pirates top 10 prospect range.
Oh yeah.
That's where I'll focus my attention on. But holy cow, do I have a ton of respect for you guys who know everybody in the MLB draft. I just think that's very impressive.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I have to sit on the sidelines for it because I cannot come close. So I know when to keep my mouth shut, and this is an episode where I'm going to do that.
Okay, so Brooksy, just real quick on this one. So right off the get-go, I'm not specifically going to remember every single.
You're the oracle.
Team. I'm not going to remember who every team picked.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing too, I even have the draft tracker right here on my phone, so I'm just legit keeping track of it. But what I do know is I'm a big reader into
Mm-hmm.
the draft prep and all that. I'm a big Fangraphs guy. I read Pirates prospects a lot, so I read their draft previews. If I was willing to pay a subscription to Baseball America, I'd probably be all over that, but I'm not willing to, frankly. So but I have a good idea of a lot of players and kind of what their tendencies are. So all I need to do is just I'll have the list up for a specific team and I'll look at it and I'll be oh, I really like what they did based on who they got and stuff. So that's just kind of my mindset with it. But there's definitely just from my vantage point, the reason that I like following the draft, especially for 40 rounds, is because I love seeing where you get value and talent and how far they fall. Because one of my favorite things also is I love seeing high school kids get drafted in the teens and the 20s because they have a strong commitment somewhere and see how far they fall. And then I always like playing the guessing game of, ooh, I wonder if they actually do end up signing or not. I remember the big one, the big one last year was Glider, Al Leiter's kid, Jack Leiter.
Al Leiter's son.
Yeah, he was Al Leiter's son. He had a commitment to Vanderbilt. He flat out said that he was not going to sign, and the Yankees drafted him in, I believe, the 30s. And they were actually able, based on their savings, they were able to offer him a bonus of $2 million, and he still turned it down and went to Vandy. So that's the type of stuff that I like seeing.
Yeah,
because
I'm
like,
I kind of want to talk about that because actually right now there's honestly two players who come to my mind, and there might be a couple other ones based on the things that Malek knows, obviously, the things that we saw yesterday. There's two guys really that come to my mind whenever we talk about that. One is Zach Bean, who was projected to go top 5. He kind of fell into the later rounds of the first round. And then the other guy, which I think is way more interesting, is Jared Kelly. Jared Kelly to me is very interesting because he was a projected top 20 pick, but because of no high school, and he's someone who's talented enough that could have went top 10, but because of no high school ball, he fell all the way in the second round and went to the Chicago White Sox. So I just want the thought process there, Malik. What do you think? Do you think those guys sign? Because personally, I think Bean signs. I don't know about Jared Kelly, but I like the Sox taking that risk no matter what because that's a young team as it is, and that's a team that legitimately, if they don't sign him, oh well. But if they do, it benefits them. I feel like it's low risk, high reward.
Yeah, so Veen right off the top, I do believe he will sign, just specifically because of the fact that he's still a top 10 pick. That's still great slot value. I believe the slot value is probably going to be in the 3 to 4 mil range. So, that's still a good bonus for him. Looking at Colorado's entire class, the only guys that I see them needing to overpay for are Drew Romo and Case Williams. Chris McMahon, I don't think is going to need an overslot deal, so they should be able to spread out their bonus pool pretty evenly to be able to do that. And Colorado's class actually, I think, is one of my personal favorites just because of the fact that they were able to get a mix of college and prep guys to look at that. the White Sox are a little bit more of an interesting team, in my opinion, just because Garrett Crochet, I don't think is going to cost them a lot to be able to sign. I don't know if he'll get slot. He might actually get a little less than that. But with Jared Kelly, if you look at the rest of their class, though, they went with 3 college guys. I think one of them was a senior sign, so he probably won't cost that much to be able to do that. So they're going to get some savings to be able to give Jared Kelly. And I think second round, the spot that he's in, that's still, I think, $1 million. So it's going to be a reasonable launch for him. And Kelly was an interesting guy coming into this draft. I think the scouting report that I read on him was that he was able to toss up to 98, but coming into the year, he kind of came in overweight. So they weren't really sure if he was kind of taking it seriously, and a lot of scouts got turned off from that as well. But I don't foresee the White Sox having an issue signing him, because I think what's very interesting about this class in general, and especially because there's 5 rounds, and that's one of the big differences about not having a 40-round draft, is that you got to be very careful with who you pick where in this 5-round draft, because it's not like in a 40-round draft where if you are not able to sign someone, you can still try to maybe recoup some of that by getting value in the later rounds for tough signs that you couldn't get. So because of the fact that you now are limited to 5 rounds and you're going to have the range between 3 and 7, you got to be extremely careful with who you pick. You got to make sure that that player that you are taking is going to be willing to sign. And you also have to essentially kind of make up for that by now going for senior signs earlier than you would typically see in a 40-round mock, because usually senior signs you'll see in probably the 6 to 10 range. But now you're going to have to probably get guys in the 5th round in order to make up that money to be able to give to someone like Jared Kelly in this case.
Yeah, and I will say this about Jared Kelly. Whenever he, again, Pirates fan, kind of wanted to draft him. I like their pick that they got instead, Josh Jones. He's a guy that, to me, just doesn't seem like he's going to get rattled by anything. They asked him, what's your biggest thing you would change about baseball? And he's like, bat flips, make them legal. And then they pull in a video of him actually bat flipping.
That's a bad
Pirates Twitter. Yeah. And Pirates Twitter took that to another level. And it's like, how many times have you bat flipped? And he's like, 1. And then they redo that video. And they're like, yeah, okay. But the point is I want to make about Jared Kelly is Jared Kelly, again, he's a guy he's talented enough to go top 10. I heard the comp that I guess you can call it, I wouldn't call it a comp. More of a, I don't know. I guess we'll call it a comp. I don't know.
Right, it's probably a comp. I don't know where you're talking about.
It's probably a comp, yeah.
It's probably a comp.
I'm trying to get cute. Point is that they said Jared Kelly, who, again, projected, could have went top 10, all the way in the 2nd round. Let's get the exact pick here. I don't have it. I'm looking at the 1st round. Point is that Jared Kelly, they said he was the best pitcher to come out of Texas in Jamison Tyone. And Jamison Tyone in high school was the highest graded, pretty sure the highest graded ever in terms of high school pitchers out of that state. And Texas breeds baseball players. So they said his coming out of high school, his fastball was 98, 99. His curveball was an 80 grade on the 20/80 scale. So for him to fall that far is a shock. But, that's talking about the sign of the times with what we're dealing with. Kind of hard to take a chance on somebody whenever you can't get a fair evaluation on them. So, I just think his case is pretty interesting. I want to throw out the question here. I know I'm usually not the one to take over, but again, I got so into this. They just keep coming to me. I guess what was your favorite pick of? Well, let's just say the 1st round or any round. What was your favorite pick?
I said this last night on 2 Beers Deep. Ed Howard going into the Cubs. I love that pick.
Oh!
I love that pick. I freaking love that pick.
Why?
Well, here's the reason. First off, if Ed Howard would have gone first to the White Sox, it would have been a way better pick in my opinion, just because he's on the South Side and he actually played in the White Sox RBI program, so that's pretty cool. But Ed Howard was the best shortstop in this class, and it's not even close. Ed Howard was the smoothest shortstop in this entire class. He's only 17 years old. He's probably going to take like 5-6 years maybe to kind of be in the big leagues at that point. But, man, when he plays defense, he was so great to watch. I saw a video of him. He is so good in the field. In terms of his hitting, he's got a really good compact swing, and he's so lanky right now the potential is right there for him to add some power as they progresses through the minor league system right there. And I look at him and I just see star.
He reminds me of Lindor.
Oh, that's a great comp for him, in my opinion. He is going to be a superstar in this league. I'm a full believer. If he would have had a full high school season, he would have been a top 10 pick. I firmly believe it.
Compared to Tim Anderson, too, from the White Sox?
Yeah, that's another good comp for him, too, I'd say.
The thing is that I liked about it is he's from Chicago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they played the video of him, being on the field in the College World Series for the Cubs, getting a signed baseball from Starlin Castro. I was like, that's so dope. Like, those are the kind of things that make draft day so great. We see those kind of things in the NBA and the NFL draft. Like, you rarely get a chance to kind of see that in Major League Baseball. I mean, there's only one guy in my mind that comes, right to the front of my brain, and that's Neil Walker. You know what I mean? Like, a guy who's a hometown kid getting drafted to his hometown team. Like, that's going to be a dream come true. And for Ed Howard, he had 2 chances. Unfortunately, the Sox passed on the first time, but, the Cubs made the dive. And like you said, he's young. But everything he does defensively is just so smooth, so sweet. Like, it's incredible to watch him play that position. And the way the league is right now, it's so stacked with shortstops. Like, we'd like to see that guy be a piece of the future. And, he'll be a guy that I think comes into Major League Baseball right behind Wander Franco, who's currently the number 1 prospect on the Tampa Bay Rays. But I love that pick, too. I thought it was a great pick.
He was on the Jackie Robinson Little League team that went to the Little League World Series. Wow.
Yep.
That's the same team I'm talking about that was out there with Chicago and the Cubs, and he got a signed baseball from Starlin Castro.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's cool to see all these high school kids. And there's another high school kid that I wanted to talk about from the Whippeal. The Pirates passed him up at number 7. He got picked at number 12. He's going to be in the NL Central for the foreseeable future. Austin Hendrick from West Allegheny. The kid's got an arm. The kid's got a bat. Malek, what are your thoughts on that pick? Did the Pirates miss out, or did they make the right move in picking Nick Gonzalez?
No, I'm a big believer in Nick Gonzalez's talent. I think his bat and just the way that he dominated the Cape Cod this year kind of shows how much he's going to transition to pro ball very easily. Hendrick, yes, I will say he had the arm. He's got the power. I still say that the big issues with Hendrick are that he's a bit older for a high schooler, which always scares away scouts, no matter how you want to break it down with that. Trying to figure out his actual position, I feel like, is going to be another thing moving forward. He's probably going to transition to a corner outfielder at some point right there. I don't necessarily see him as a big 5-tool guy necessarily. So I think that's where you're limited right there. And I think he does have the power, but I think the other issue with him is that the way that he uses his swing is way more hands than it is actual technique with it. So I think that's going to be a problem as he kind of progresses and moves up the system. But he's still young enough that I think he has a lot of potential in that Red system, who have done a very good job, I would argue, in drafting and developing hitters as they've kind of gone up. So I think he'll eventually make it to the big leagues, though. I say 5 years still for him. It's going to be the interesting thing for him is that if they actually implement the universal DH, like, he could probably come up at some point and would maybe be up earlier. But I still say he's going to have to take some time to adjust to big league baseball, just for that fact as well.
You said something that kind of like when I was reading the draft analysis and things like that, it kind of popped into my head. But the old, I mean, I think he turns 19 on Monday. Why does that play such a big role into high schoolers?
The big comp with a lot of scouts is the younger that you can get someone, the better that they are, because of the logic is essentially if you are a draft eligible player and you are 17 years old at that point and you're putting up numbers that are essentially equivalent to someone that you would consider at 21 as a 21-year-old as well, and you still have kind of the body that you're looking for with 5-tool potential and all that, it's beautiful right there. And I'll throw this out here too. Nick York, Red Sox first-round pick. Like, there's something about middle infielders in Southern California who are high schoolers and are underage that they just grow on trees out there for some reason, and every team usually wants some sort of piece of them because they're just projectable. They're guys that essentially you can move around the field no matter what. But yet, if they have the ability to be able to field and they have the bat, that's something that's a tool that any team wants. And with the age factor, the idea is when you get them younger, you're able to kind of teach them the habits that you want for a big leaguer. You're able to get them on your training regimen. You're able to kind of guide them to get them to the type of body that they want to be a major leaguer. So that's kind of why a lot of scouts favor the younger players in turn to that. That's also why draft eligible sophomores are so highly regarded as well too, because of the fact that you have 2 years of college experience, but yet you get one less year in there where your body breaks down naturally from just being in a college environment, that you can get them right away and be like, okay, you have the experience of playing in college, but we're taking that 1 year away from you. You're getting them into our system faster, and that's an extra year of development to be able to work with.
I know the Red Sox got a lot of slack for that pick. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, but
slack for that pick.
I will say this, because I saw a video, Jeff Passan, who we love. We all love Jeff Passan, who dropped the Dumb and Dumber quote, and I looked as to why, and I didn't even realize at the time, but the Red Sox go and pick Nick York, and everyone hates it. And then in round 3, they get arguably the most raw, big-time power bat, and you make the dumbest decision in the world, and you go and do this and totally redeem yourself. It was legendary because they picked Blaze Jordan. Blaze Jordan arguably is they got him in the 3rd round. He's arguably the most raw, and I mean the rawest of the raw in terms of pure power in this draft, like Vlad Guerrero Jr. type raw power.
Yeah.
And they got him in round 3. He's 17.
Yeah.
We talk about how, you want to get guys that young. Mounts just said it. We talk about Ed Howard and how we praise him, and he's only 17. So, the point is that I want to make is maybe they took Nick York so they could overslot, and sign Blaze Jordan away from his college commitment. So
that's exactly what they did.
Now, go ahead and break down Blaze Jordan, since I know you want to, because I look at him. I look at this guy, and I look at every site. You can go to ESPN, you go to MLB, especially MLB. He's all over the plate. He's all over these pages, and I just want everyone to know why everyone's raving about this guy.
He gets the ball.
Blaze Jordan is such an enigma.
He's intriguing.
He's intriguing, and it's like it's so hard to try to quantify Blaze Jordan as a prospect. Mississippi State recruit, first baseman all the way. He's not playing anywhere else but first base, and I'm glad that he went to an American League team because at least he'll be a DH in the future. But my God, this is a dude that went viral when he was 15 years old for hitting bombs. Absolute bombs. Kind of like the level of Bryce Harper went viral when he was 15. But the difference is that, and he kind of did the same route that Bryce Harper did too. He reclassified early to try to get into the draft, thinking that he could capitalize on that. But the difference is that Bryce Harper was looked at as like a generational type talent. Jordan got kind of a bit of a knack on him. And I think it was because, one, it was his defensive capabilities. Mm-hmm. Whereas Bryce Harper was a catcher and all that, and you were able to kind of work with that because one of the big things when you draft catchers, you can essentially put them anywhere in the field because they have the athleticism to be able to work with that. Blaze Jordan was basically kind of a defensive leper when on his high school team, man. It's just, there was something about him that he was just all bat, no glove whatsoever. So that kind of limited his ceiling right there from the get-go. The reports that I think I've read is that he's actually done a really good job trying to get himself into shape, which is definitely a good sign, which shows that he's able to work and be able to kind of put the time in to be able to get himself ready for a big league career, and that should be a good thing. But the other thing with his swing too, it's all raw strength. It is just pure raw strength. For a 17-year-old to be able to hit bombs like that and just being able to put up numbers like that is impressive. But imagine putting him in a coaching situation where you can actually teach him, okay, you don't need strength to be able to hit home runs. If you're able to kind of widen your stance, use your base more, kind of loosen those hands just a little bit, imagine how much of a complete hitter that you could become. So I think that is kind of the big issue with Blaze Jordan moving forward, is that in terms of raw power, it screams off the top of your lungs for that. And the Red Sox should be very excited that they get it. But I am putting the big asterisk on here. Blaze Jordan is going to take the longest development time of any high school prospect in this class.
I mean, he's only 17 though, so you got plenty of time, right?
Yes.
MLB.com says 2024, 2025.
That long?
Yeah, I'd lean towards 2025.
I would too.
Yeah, Blaze Jordan's going to take a while. He is all bat right now. You basically have to just completely get him into a playing shape from the ground up. Have him learn a position, have him stick to that position, have him be the best at that he possibly can, and just get him ready to go. You are going to have to tweak his swing a little bit, just a little bit, but he's going to be a stud at some point, but you need a lot of time to get him to where he needs to be.
He's 6'2", 225, and he hits the shit out of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't field for shit either. He is legitimately the most intriguing prospect I've seen in the most recent memory. I can't think of a guy, in my opinion, who just excels so good on one side and just absolutely trash on the other. And, you know, when you talk about excelling compared to trash, like it's usually defense to offense. Like, oh, he's so good defensively, maybe we get these in the head. No, like I've never seen a guy that's like just mashes the baseball the way he does. And for how young he is, him being only 17. So I will say, Mac, like it didn't look promising at first, but then they took Blaze Jordan in the third, and it's like, they were on. Shane Bloom was on to something here. So he's playing chess and not checkers, and that's the beauty of the draft.
All right, I'm not making a comparison, but what you just described, the fact that he can hit the crap out of the ball and he doesn't have a glove, reminds me of someone very prime. I don't want to say it because
you're going to say Big Papi. You might as well say it.
Yeah, I don't want to make that comparison, but that's what you just described. Literally what you just described. The guy with a big bat and no glove.
Yeah, he's a DH. He's a DH through and through, unless he can really improve. But him being 17 gives a chance to improve.
Yep.
Defense. And if he
then the other thing that I said too, he's all raw strength with his bat. So he really has to like learn to kind of spread out his stance and be able to use all his entire body with his hit tool. That's only going
a lot of that's things you can teach.
Absolutely.
You can't teach hitting a ball 555 damn feet.
Oh, I get it. I have no reason to doubt the Red Sox development staff to be able to do that, especially when you have Shane Bloom taking over, who literally came from the best run development staff in all of baseball in the Rays. So I'm totally have no doubts that he'll be fine.
Man, they had a draft too. Getting Nick Blitzko in the first round, another high schooler, but he's a guy.
They screwed over the Orioles with that pick too, which was hilarious.
They did, which is really funny. You know, and these are the kind of things that you see that go into the picks. Like everyone tries to play chess instead of checkers. So they try to screw with the Orioles because the Orioles, it took Essen Kjerstad first, which is a guy me and Malek actually talked about earlier this week, is he's a guy that we kind of wanted. But
that's the guy we honestly thought that the Pirates were going to go.
Really. We did. They took him because they took him at underslot value to try and get Blitzko to sign him. It's kind of like the Josh Bell bait and switch, I guess, if you want to call it that, because Pirates did that with Josh Bell back when.
It is, but the difference is when they did the Josh Bell swap, they didn't have like the bonus restrictions on it, so they were just able to pay everyone.
Oh, yeah. That was 2011, wasn't it? With the Garrett Cole draft.
They gave Garrett Cole $8 million, and they gave Josh Bell $5 million.
Yeah, and Josh Bell took it, Garrett Cole took it, and then 2012 they changed the rules completely.
Yep, history lesson, boys and girls. The reason that the draft is the way it is because the Red Sox cried wolf about us paying $5 million to Josh Bell, and therefore all the rules were changed. So
because we don't pay anybody else.
Thanks a lot, Red Sox. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Mac. You ruined our evil plans. Bob Nutting wasn't going to spend on the major league team, but he's going to spend when it matters. You had to cry about that. I want to talk about the Pirates briefly. I know you're not a
question, then we can get into the Pirates.
Okay.
That's another question I have. But Malek, I want to ask you something. Number one pick, Spencer Torkelson, Arizona State, forks up, went undrafted out of high school, picked number 1 overall. How often does that happen? He went undrafted out of high school. Normally, when you see a guy go number 1, like he was probably drafted out of high school but just elected to go to college. How like prevalent is this?
Actually, in all honesty, Mac, you'd be surprised. It happens way more often than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and don't get me wrong, like it does happen where the number 1 overall pick could be a late round guy. Like Adley Rutschman last year, I'm pretty sure was like a 35th round pick at one point, and then like he went number 1 overall. But Dustin Vaughn last year, who went to the White Sox, he went undrafted too. So there's a lot of examples too that I'm pretty sure you can find where a lot of guys have gotten drafted not until they got to college, because really that's kind of the whole thing too. It's a crapshoot when you try to figure out how a high school prospect is going to develop when they go to college. I mean, what Torque did his freshman year was something that no one ever thought they'd see, was when he broke that record.
He broke Barry Bonds' record, home run record.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of that too, Arizona State in general had a really great draft class. A lot of guys got picked. Yeah. Alika Williams going to the Rays. I believe the Tigers also got another Arizona State guy, third baseman.
Gage or Gabe Workman? Yeah.
Yeah, Workman. Yeah. Workman was a guy that could have also potentially played into a first-round conversation next year. So they're going to have to pay a little overslot to get him as well. So that's going to be interesting. Also, I think a number of Arizona State recruits got taken too. So I'm going to be very intrigued to see if they end up signing or not. But
Chelsea. Yeah, them asshat Tigers also took Dylan Dingler. Who
I legit thought he was going to go in the second round to us too. I'm a little pissed about that.
I was shocked that they passed. I was shocked that the Pirates passed on him. And then, the first pick, day 3 or day 2, they just took Dingler right off the bat and didn't even let us kind of, is he going to fall? Like, nope, no way.
Nope.
Again, he was the only guy. We talk about talent and need. He was the most talented guy at that position at the time. But at the same time, if he falls that far, honestly, you feel a need and you feel talent. Like legitimately, that's like having 8 queens on the chessboard. Like you just.
All right,
Brooksy, you've been really quiet lately. I'm actually kind of curious if you have any.
Here. That's why we're going to the Pirates draft. I wanted Brooksy to come on in.
Yeah, what you guys are. I'm just listening, being a sponge.
Okay.
I'm just more impressed with how much you guys know.
I mean, guys, do you remember me last year during the draft podcast? I was just like, you guys were just going at it. I was like, yeah, so why is he so good? Like, I was literally just trying to come up with questions to kind of keep up with the conversation.
Well, a lot of guys we talk about, I mean, we're not going to see him for a couple years. It's extremely rare where guys kind of transition from the draft to Major League Baseball. Like, those levels, they climb so fast. Like, even Bryce Harper didn't climb that fast. I think it took him 2 years, maybe a year and a half. He was drafted at 17 and then made his debut like right before he turned 20. The only other guy I can think of who kind of took a leap so fast when he got drafted off the top is Alex Bregman. It just doesn't happen so quickly.
I throw Strasburg in there too.
Yeah, you're right, because Strasburg was 09 and he made his debut, I think, in 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Strasburg made a real big leap through his professional
They started him in
Double-A.
They started him in Double-A, so
they did. That's also what's really rare too. Yeah. And also something that I personally like to do as well is because and this is like barring when the minor league season actually kind of changes or how that's going to look like after this whole COVID stuff is done. But one of my favorite things to do is like when I see the Pirates draft class, like a lot of their guys between like I'd say 1 through 10, they're going to go to West Virginia and play for the Black Bears. So really, like, if you want to, like, get a look at how, like, the future of the Pirates, essentially, and see how well the players are, you can just drive, like, an hour, go to Morgantown, and actually watch them play. So that's what's kind of cool about it, is, like, if you, like, your favorite team and stuff, like, if you're close to certain people right there, you're actually able to see how well they progress. Or even go to Altoona, for instance. Like, you see guys that they drafted maybe 3 years ago and see how well that they progressed, too.
Pretty cool.
All right. What did you guys think of the Pirates draft? Start at the top.
Let me start, please.
Yeah, sure, Dre, go.
I just want to say 2 things. and I'm sure Malek's going to break it down here in terms of what else you see. Number one, the thing I'll say is I did not like the Nick Gonzalez pick at first. I get, and part of that is on me in terms of the research and what I've done. But I saw a guy in Zach Bean who was projected to go top 5. If he fell past the Royals, no one know where he would end up. But again, he's a guy that's super raw being in high school. But they said that he has the highest ceiling, and I took that into account as if he's there, we should take him because I know for a fact that this franchise is rebuilding, and we're not going to have any type of impact for at least 4 or 5 years. So I thought here's a guy that legitimately falls within that plan, and the way he smashes the ball is insane. And he has a lot of tools. He projects as a corner outfielder. But the point is that I saw him on the board, and then they took Nick Gonzalez. I was like, okay, why would they pass on him? And, he was one of the 3 guys that were there that were like, if they took, I legitimately wouldn't have been mad about it. But, when they took him, I was like, okay, they took him at shortstop. That's dumb. But then I saw these guys' numbers, and I was like, holy shit. This dude was the MVP of the Cape Cod League, which is a wooden bat league, which, is MLB. And then his average, I think, was 448. And then his on-base percentage was through the roof. But his OPS was 1,000 in this, small sample size league. But he's a guy that legitimately had one scholarship and then built himself up into this. He's a guy that has high energy. And I don't think he'll be a shortstop, which is what they drafted him at. But I see his bat just completely flying up because of that. They're not going to shoot. I feel like this management isn't going to shoehorn him into the shortstop position. I think they're going to try him out there, see what he can do. And if he does not, succeed the way he think he can, but he hits like we know he can, he's just going to go to second base, and it's going to be no big deal because they got 2 options right there right now at the major league level that's, eventually got to pick one because Nick Gonzalez is coming. And I think it'll be Cole Tucker, but the bottom line is his bat's going to get him the majors pretty quickly.
They have him listed as a second baseman on ESPN.
Yeah, but when they announce a pick, they announce him as a shortstop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's weird because it's more of what they announce him as opposed to what he was drafted at or what position he went into the draft. It's kind of like Bryce Harper. He's a perfect example. Malek said earlier he was a catcher going into the draft. When they announced his pick, they took him at they said he was an outfielder. Torkelson, here's another example. Actually, this happened very first pick of the draft. He was first baseman in Arizona State. When they announced his pick, they announced him as third baseman.
Yeah, but that's why I brought it up because he's listed as a third baseman on ESPN.
Yeah, that's odd to me. But maybe they just think what I'm saying. Maybe I'm just telling everybody exactly what's going to happen. He's not going to be a shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He can be a second baseman, but he's going to be a second baseman that can collect 200 hits.
Yeah.
Based off of, my ceiling, based off what he's done. I think he's definitely a guy that can collect 200 hits and, be at the top of the lineup, kind of like a Jose Altuve.
Mm-hmm. Malek, what did you think about this Nick Garcia kid from Chapman University? D3,
so
I've heard he's D1 talent. Want to get your thoughts?
Yeah, so Nick Garcia was a really interesting pick. So I was recording 2 Beers Deep, and I had the draft tracker on as I was doing the show, and I was kind of watching the names go by, and I saw Nick Garcia and I saw Chapman University, and I'm like, huh, D3 guy? Okay, it's interesting. And then I after the show was over, I went on Twitter and I saw Dan O'Dowd's reaction, and he's like, this is a first round talent that they got in the 3rd round. I'm like, what the fuck, a third D3 guy, really? And then I kind of read up a little more on him, and I was really intrigued by the story of him. Former position player, kind of converted to a pitcher, also played in the Cape Cod as well, and played very well in the Cape Cod apparently at that point, was getting stretched out to be a starter, had a velocity jump up to 97, has a solid breaking pitch as well. This is kind of the interesting thing that I wanted to point this out with the Pirates draft class. All 5 of their pitchers, and by the way, I'm going to point this out here too. I have nothing wrong with them taking 5 straight right-handed pitchers in this class. The reason is because, 1, you can never have too much pitching, and 2, that was actually a very sneaky weakness of our system was not having guys that could be kind of upper level pitchers. I think from the lower level, we have a very good rotation to work with all the high school guys that we accumulated, but AA and AAA, it's kind of barren at that point. So I'm not saying these guys are going to move up that high right now, but they are kind of projected to actually go kind of fast, which is something that I think is a good thing for them.
Yeah, and the guys that he's talking about on lower levels, Quinn Priester, Brandon Malone, who came in the Marte trade, and then Tajani Thomas. All three top prospects, top 10 prospects in the Pirate system.
I'll throw Cody Bolton in there too.
Yeah, Cody Bolton. He's in AA. I do love me some Cody Bolton, former minor league pitcher of the year. I will say this about Nick Garcia. I'm looking at this Twitter account, Pirates Analytics. Great account. I just started following it yesterday because they know what they're talking about. Nick Garcia, D3, Chapman University, right-hander. Ranked 86 by Fangraphs, 65 by ESPN, 70 by MLB, 56 by Baseball America, 61 by Keith Law, and 71 by Consensus. Bottom line is that he was a diamond in the rough. And, for Ben Cherington to kind of go out there and take this D3 guy where everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? And then you see all these other scouts are like, hey, he actually kind of got some stuff to him. Yep. Okay, that brings a little promise to me, which I'm pretty hype about,
Yeah. I'll also throw this out about the pitchers that they drafted too. And I think this was really unique, and I don't think they intended to do this, but all of these pitchers that they drafted, including the college guys, and I've been on record saying this to you, Dre, specifically, the reason I don't like taking college pitchers is because wear and tear on it and all that, because of the fact that they're not in a pro system and there's a lot more damage on that arm than teams are able to manage with this. These college pitchers that they took, there's not a lot of wear and tear on these guys at all. Like Majinski, who they drafted out of South Carolina, he came in as a shortstop, didn't go to the mound until I believe the end of his freshman year. Sophomore year broke his foot, got a lot of work in the Cape Cod League, and then junior year got taken away. So this guy has a lot of raw, natural stuff that he hasn't had to use a lot lately. So it's kind of like seeing a unicorn where you basically have a college pitcher with all this raw stuff, but yet no wear and tear on it. So it's kind of like it's like this weird amalgamation of stuff that you almost kind of wish that you could get from a college pitcher, and they essentially got from this. So I'm intrigued how this works from here.
It kind of reminds me of the comparison you made of why you draft a 17-year-old player out of high school. If you can get a guy that has some experience but no wear and tear, you kind of take him. Because he has a higher floor as opposed, he has a higher floor and a high ceiling. Because if you could take the stuff, if you've seen his stuff in a limited action, you're like, oh my God, I can work with this. Like, that kind of helps in terms of, his development and what you want to mold him into. So my pick there, I think I think Majewski. I still don't know how to say his name. I think it's Majewski.
I think it's
I'm not sure.
How's it said?
I think it's Majewski. I don't know.
I say Majinski.
Majinski, yeah. Majinski's right. Majewski's wrong. So hear what I say. Carmen is right.
Yes, Carmen is correct. Yes, I can confirm. I can confirm that.
Carmen Majinski. I do like him. I would have went Dengler there because I think they could have got Majinski in round 3. But again, I'm not bitter because of the fact that I'm going to unequivocally trust this front office to make every single decision right. They deserve that. It's a brand new regime, so we'll see what's up.
Brand new regime, and you're being handicapped by the number of picks that they're bringing.
These circumstances completely change it, and I feel like with the unique circumstances of what they're doing, I feel like it was savvy and wily to really focus on their emphasis on players performing highly at the Cape Cod League when you're sort of handcuffed in terms of what your scouting allows you to do with a lot of these people not having a full season. And I think I saw the tweet that Nick Garcia was the highest D3 player picked in 13 years.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Jordan Zimmerman. I'm like, holy cow. Because I was I don't know minor league or the MLB draft, but when I see holy cow, a D3 guy picked? What does that entail? Even though I think Chapman wins D3 baseball championships, it's a really good program, but still caught my eye oh, really? With a third round pick? Holy cow. But yeah, I think performing at that level in the Cape Cod League was a really good way to sort of approach this draft that is just this unique year.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see the next 3-4 years how these guys progress.
I am too, and they definitely went heavy on the Cape Cod side with Majinski and especially Nick Gonzalez, who was the MVP of that league. Majinski, when he was in the Cape Cod League, I believe he had a 3.14 ERA, and he was a very high performer there. So it makes a lot of sense as to why they took him as opposed to a guy like Dylan Dingler, who again, Pirates Twitter is just completely mad about the catching situation, which I'm not.
Mhm.
But give me all the talent in the world. That's all I want.
Yeah, and also his strikeout to walk ratio in Cape Cod League was absurd. I actually just looked it up. It was 40-4.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a league that's like Coors Field light.
Mhm.
So I don't know how much time we have. I just want to say this. Malek, best class, worst class.
Best class, I could go in a number of different routes on this one. But in all honesty, I'm kind of going to lean towards the Cardinals. And the reason I say that is because in a draft class where you have to be very careful with who you pick because of the fact that high schoolers have a ton of leverage, I like the fact that they took a risk on taking 3 straight high school players to be able to kind of get in their system. The Cardinals are very good when it comes to like just letting the pieces essentially fall to them and just kind of taking advantage of it right there. I'm a huge Jordan Walker fan. I thought that he could have also, with a good year, been play for a top 10, top 15. I don't know if he'll be a third baseman long term because the length is a bit of a problem, but I think he could really play up to that level and surprise some people. Alec Burleson's also a big sleeper. Fangraphs actually did an article earlier this week before the draft and kind of talked about guys that could be diamonds in the roughs, and they had big praise for Burleson because they thought his bat was going to be very strong. And that is such a Cardinals pick too, taking a guy that maybe not a lot of people have heard of, but essentially will play up because of how well the bat is. And then a second class that I also really like too was the Padres. The Padres did a great job of mixing high school along with college players to make that work out very well. Robert Hassel was probably the best high school bat in this class. And getting Cole Wilcox in the 3rd round is huge. I don't know if he'll sign, but if they're able to get him, that's going to be a big thing for them moving forward too.
Yeah, I agree with Cole Wilcox.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a guy that I thought would have ended up 2nd round at the earliest. You know, maybe even mid 1st round. For him to fall that far and them take a chance on him in such a limited access of picks, I like that. I definitely did. I'm trying to find the guy that the Cardinals picked. He's an extremely athletic shortstop.
Tanner Witt.
Yes, that's it. They think they got him in the 2nd or early 3rd. I'm looking at this. I'm pretty sure it's the 2nd round, but he was.
Yeah.
They said his athleticism was off the charts. That he was probably pound for pound one of the best. I don't think it's Tanner Witt. It's Mason Witt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now you say it, the last name definitely rang a bell. Mason Witt. They said pound for pound he could be the best prospect in this draft. So that's just vintage Cardinals. For anyone who wants to know, the evil empire. Pirates fans, Brooksy, we got to get some insight on this bullshit. This is how they succeed. This is how they win.
Go again.
Stupid. Draft class you hated.
Giants. Giants had the most picks in this draft class at 7, and they went way too safe. Like way too safe. Patrick Bailey at 13 really surprised me.
And I'm with you on that, mainly because of Joey Bart. Joey Bart's a guy who's top 2 catcher prospect in Major League Baseball, and there's going to be no place for him.
Yeah, I saw a weird, I think it was Kylie McDaniel on the draft on ESPN2 was kind of talking about how the idea of maybe if there's robo umpires or the universal DH might kind of make the reasoning for it and all that, but that just still doesn't make sense to me because Joey Bart I still think is a better catcher prospect than Patrick Bailey. So why would you take Bart out of the catcher spot and put Bailey there. Like, I get it, Bailey's a good catcher and all that, but I'd still rather have Bart there at a premium position. And then just the rest of their class, like, it really does nothing for me. Like, they only took one high school pitcher from De La Salle High School, I believe, and there's not really much else to go with it. Strange.
Yeah, and guys who went after Bailey, who I actually have taken, I'm just gonna name. I'm gonna name a couple right now. Micah Bell, was a guy I would have taken a chance on. If I was the Giants, Ed Howard, Crow Armstrong, Pete Crow Armstrong. I'm sorry, I was just talking about him earlier, and I don't know.
Yeah, the Mets guy.
Yeah, I do like him. And
Mets had a decent draft too, actually. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah. I'm a big Mets guy, you know that. Nick Blitzko is another guy I would have taken a chance on. He just sounds like a San Francisco Giant, Nick Blitzko. So, it's pretty crazy to me that they had the most picks and just kind of absolutely unequivocally bombed their draft.
Yeah, it's something about it where I was expecting them to be a little more aggressive, just because you have all that capital that you're able to kind of spread out, and you can go 5% over your pool and not get dinged anyway for it. So it's like I was expecting like more kind of harder to sign guys. I was expecting honestly something kind of like what the Rangers did, where the Rangers went safe in their first pick and then just went all high schoolers the rest of the way. So I was surprised by that. But yeah, I think the Giants really dropped the ball on this.
Yeah, first pick Justin Foscue, by the way, second baseman. Pretty crazy to me. Like you said, with the draft capital, they could have taken a risk on a lot of higher talented guys. A guy like Jared Kelly, who we talked about earlier, was a guy that could have been on their radar. But
right.
All in all, I'm just going to keep it simple. I honestly liked what the Orioles did. And I also like what the Blue Jays did, specifically the Blue Jays with Austin Martin. I think that they see a vision with their infield. Dante Bichette's son, Bo Bichette, Kevin Biggio, Vlad Guerrero Jr., who knows what he's going to do. They see him in this instance transitioning to first base, and you throw Austin Martin there in the hot corner, and that's nice. So there's that. And then we're both in agreement with the Giants in terms of a class that we hate.
Yeah.
I don't need to evaluate anymore on that.
And I could make an argument for the Jays winning this draft just for the fact that they got the best player in this class at 5, just out of nowhere from that. But my only fear with them is that they really had to go for some easy signs with their last 3 picks, because the fear is that Martin might go back because of the fact that he dropped to the number 5. So that's the only thing that sucks, is they kind of had to sacrifice the rest of their draft in order to be able to sign Austin Martin. CJ Van Eck also from Florida State could be a sleeper pitcher for them as well.
I do love me. I'm a Florida State guy. I do love me some CJ Van Eck. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw he went to that team, that again kind of vaulted me up to picking them right now. It's one of the classes I like. I think them going safe isn't going to hurt them. Ultimately, you want to sign your first pick. That's the goal when you take a guy that high, when you have an opportunity. So if that's what they got to do in order to overslot Austin Martin, I'm okay with it, because I think he's a guy that's going to be a major leaguer for a long time.
And that's kind of why I say that the teams like the Cardinals and the Padres, I think, had the best drafts, because they were able to essentially spread out their abilities to be able to get a good group of players to come in, but they didn't necessarily have to sacrifice enough. Like Robert Hassel and Jordan Walker, I don't have any issues with thinking they'll sign. So they're going to get some premium talent in this class, but then I believe the rest of their class is pretty solid from the ground up. You get some good college players, and I think both teams actually have, I think, 3 high school players that they drafted. So that's going to be a solid class for them to work with.
Brooksy, what are your opinions on your first draft experience with Andre Fry and Greg Malek?
I'm not prepared for next year.
20 rounds, baby. Wait for that. That's going to be
holy cow.
Fun.
It's impressive.
It's very, that's awesome. Like when I knew we were talking about the draft, I was like, if we're going to make this the best episode, we got to bring in Malek, because he knows the most about the draft.
If we didn't have Greg Malek, what would we would Dre would just be like, "Come on, guys, talk."
I'd just be talking. I'd be ranting.
It'd be
I
rough.
got nothing for you.
It'd be rough. So we got about like 10 minutes left or so. I do want to talk about the contract negotiations between the Players Association and the owners real quick. Malek, give me a quick opinion on what you have thought about this whole process since you're just joining us for this episode.
The owners need to stop being a bunch of babies by the fact that they're going to lose a little bit of money this year and actually pay the players.
That's basically what we've been saying the last couple episodes.
like for God's sake, like it's not like this is their only source of revenue. Like the majority of the owners in Major League Baseball do not get their money just from the baseball. Like for baseball players, this is their livelihood. This is how they make their money. Like billionaires can kind of shut the fuck up for just a little bit and actually agree to pay all of the money that they agreed to, then we'll actually get baseball. Like, and that's something that I had to like completely turn Josh around on with that, because he was totally on the owner side with that until I had to like assess. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, and he actually, and in fairness, he actually didn't understand kind of like how the CBA essentially works from that perspective, and how the fact that the players actually already agreed to a shorter like salary this year just because of the fact they were playing less games, but now essentially they're trying to come back and cut more salary off of it. So when I kind of explained that to him, then he immediately turned around on that. But that's kind of my mindset with it. It is such crap that we are stuck not having baseball because, again, we're having another billionaire versus millionaire argument with that. And granted, Major League Baseball Players Union is easily the best union in all of sports. And I can't deny it. I can't argue it. They stick to their guns. They're going to get what they want, and they are probably the most well-organized unit in all of sports. Can't argue it. But God damn it, just pay the players everything that you promised them, and we will get baseball. It's that simple. I don't understand what the hell the big holdup is with this.
Do you think there's going to be baseball?
I think Manfred is going to commission the 48-game season.
I don't want that.
No,
that's what we're going to get.
If we're going to get a 48-game season, we might as well just not get any baseball at all. It doesn't make sense. That's my opinion on it. But like, I don't. I mean, I understand that they got to have something, but like, 48-game season, like in baseball, like doesn't mean anything. Like you used to playing 162 games a year. Like you got to have at least, I would say at least half that. Like I think it was 72 games was offered today, I guess you could say, or proposed today. I think that's like kind of right there in the middle. Like that's like the reaching point. Anything lower than that, I don't think is going to be good. But like 48 games. Like 48 games,
I get it, but here's the thing: I miss baseball. Like I do. Like I'll take anything at this point.
I agree.
15 minutes ago there was a latest Athletic article that came out. I was briefly skimming it, and so apparently with the offer that was sent today, the deputy commissioner, something Hollum. He wrote a 5-page letter that accompanied the offer that's pretty much just like riddled with ill will about this whole concept of good faith negotiations if there would be fan restrictions on games. So the owners just still think that they're in the right here, that they weren't locked into paying the player, or they weren't locked into what the players' pay was. And the players are in a position where it's like, we already took your pay cut. So like they're just completely on different ends. And now it's just ill will. And the thing that's like annoying, because at first, not that I was ever pro owner, but I was a little bit more like devil's advocate, like, okay, like this is such a freak thing. Like, can't we somewhat meet in the middle? Like there's some wiggle room here. Yeah. But the fact that the owners just keep on making the same offer over and over again and just putting a different label on it.
Moving the sliders. This is the best way to put it today. That's why I was just.
Well, hey, Greg. Hey, Greg. I have 40 beers. Would you like 12? Say no.
No.
Okay. How about 2 sets of 6?
No, I'm good, man.
Okay. How about 3 sets of 4? Final offer: 4 sets of 3, or you get 10 beers. That's what it is. So, that's all it is.
That's literally
That's the best comparison you can ever make in terms of what's going on.
Brooksy waited until the end of the show to have the highlight, and he came in hot. I love it.
Bye, guys.
Pull a George Costanza, just go. That was great.
Oh, that was beautiful. But it's exactly what, we've been talking about this every week. It's bullshit that we're sitting here still talking about the fact there's no baseball. It's not hard to give these guys their full money because, again, they're sacrificing games and they're the ones sacrificing their health.
Yeah.
You want to talk about what's going on with Major League Baseball? It's simple. It's all about greed. And then Rob Manfred is sitting there like a child. We're letting this game go to hell. Like, my man, get the hell off of your ass and get these guys on the field. Who gives a damn about what the owners think? Honestly, they won't open up their books, and you see the shady shit they do every year. I talked about it last week. I talked about the week before and the week after that. Before that, Greg Mack had to go through the whole entire situation of Mookie Betts getting traded because they didn't want to pay him. And then they had to trade away David Price because they wanted to cut salary. We're talking about one of the biggest payrolls in baseball, cutting salary. We've lived through it as Pirates fans for a long time. And we know damn well these guys are bringing in money regardless. Like, they have billions and billions of dollars. So what in the hell is a couple $1 million to you guys if these players want to play getting their full salaries at already a discount? It's already at a discount. So frustrating.
You got something. What? I see you pointing your fingers up and down.
Oh, I'm just reading this article. So it's definitely take a look at it after this. But it's just like, one, what's the deputy commissioner being – the letter got leaked to The Athletic, as this whole process has.
Yeah.
And it's just been horrible like that. But in the letter, the deputy commissioner takes exception to what he calls the association's rhetoric that players remain opposed to any further pay cuts, saying the players were never entitled to be paid in the first place because Manfred had the authority to suspend all contracts once President Trump declared a national emergency.
So they're saying that the players don't deserve to be paid because they shouldn't have been paid in the first place?
Because Manfred had the authority, even though he didn't, but he had the authority to suspend contracts.
That's bullshit.
So that's where they're coming from in their deluded mind to be like, okay, well, what players have right now is not a pay cut.
Yeah.
Because they're not entitled to any of it. So, like, not taking any side, but, like, in a disturbing lawyer language way, like, both, like, sides, but the owners are being much more nitpicky and fine-tuning about these good faith negotiations. But it's getting at the point now where it's ill will, and at this point, it's less about who cares. I mean, obviously, this is the forefront, but like, yeah, at this point, we're either having a 72, a 50, or a 48-game season. But the big thing is, what on earth is the CBA going to be like the next go-around? That's going to be ugly.
Oh, man.
There's just ill will everywhere.
It's going to be
It's
crazy.
going to be a shit show.
It's going to be
It's going
crazy.
to be a divorce. It's going to get ugly.
It's going to be crazy. All right, guys. We're running out of time here. So thanks for joining us for another episode of Heart of the Order. Malek, I appreciate you coming on and joining us and instilling us with your vast draft knowledge. So thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, guys.
Encyclopedia.
Thank you. You're welcome. I appreciate coming on to the show that I helped. I was originally a part of, and I'm glad Brooksy has kind of been a great replacement and has kind of put it over the moon with that. So, Brooksy,
You're
thank
welcome
you.
back anytime, especially next baseball draft.
Deal.
I'll be
20
sick.
rounds.
20 round torch.
20 rounds is going to be fun to cover, boys. Just throwing that out there.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Hopefully there's baseball though before this.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully. All right, guys. Until next week. See you later. Bye.